We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you,
Hi, welcome along to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wright. It is Talk of the Toon with Sid and Rob, who is and Sid is sporting his Bruce Springsteen t-shirt.
Yes.
Both at the gig last week. Give us your views, mate. You had the family there, I think.
I did. I had my 2 girls and my wife there. It was a fantastic show. We absolutely loved it. Little's turning into a proper Boss fan, so that's really cool, and she loved it. It was odd because his voice was clearly going. Even from the first song, you could hear his voice going. But what a trooper. I mean, it was chucking it down. We were lucky because we were undercover. It was chucking it down for the whole show. And he was standing on one of the Sunderland ends. Now, as it happened, the rain was going directly onto the stage. So they was just relentless. They didn't get a moment. And ironically, the rain stopped the minute the band finished. You couldn't have written this script. Now, Springsteen, I think he's cancelled the next 10 days worth of gigs now because of the fact that he's clearly was vocally struggling. But what a performance he put on. What a trooper. The band were great. He was magnificent. But can I just also say, what a nightmare getting there. It was it's a shocking venue to get to. The Metro was just nuts. There was people fighting on the Metro. The Metro got stopped. Somebody was sick. People almost fainted on the Metro. It was just crazy. Absolutely crazy. Please come to Newcastle the next time, is what I'm going to say.
What time? I mean, what time do you get? But I mean, I to be honest, we went down early. We've been to gigs down there before. I'm sure you have, but we got down there for 3 as opposed to 4. You know, once you're wet kind of thing. We got down there at 3, so we didn't experience the same kind of issues on the.
Yeah, we were later, so we left at 4, and when we left at 4, the Metros were rammed, absolutely rammed. In fact, ours was the last Metro from our area, and then the next Metro was called off. So we were really, really lucky, really lucky.
And what about getting back? Did you get back okay?
We were dead lucky because my eldest boyfriend picked one up, so that was grand.
I praise Nexus because the job they did getting people back was superb. The queue was a mile long, and I mean, literally from traveling from the stadium, we got out at 20 to 11. Back in Newcastle for 12 was spot on.
Yeah, that's very good. But what a show! What an absolute show! He's still great. What a band! Great set list. Absolutely top notch.
Well, my mate seen him he saw him in 81. He saw him at the. He also saw him on the old solo tour as well.
I saw him on the solo tour at the City Hall. It was great.
Yeah,
very funny. But apparently, in 81, years later, he described the City Hall in his top 3 favorite gigs.
Yeah.
So that must have been something.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Great stuff. The boss, I'm sure he'll be back. I've got tickets to go and see him again later in the year, so looking forward to that. But let's get on to football. Pre-recorded show, of course. So if anything's happened between Wednesday and Saturday, then unfortunately it won't be covered on here. But we are able to cover the fact that the list was released by Newcastle United, confirming the departures this week, and the high-profile ones, I guess, as far as we're concerned, were Paul Dummett and Matt Ritchie, who've made over 428 competitive appearances for the club. Ritchie, 25 goals, and a lot of them very important goals at different stages of his career at Newcastle. Dummett only weighing in with 4, but over 200 appearances for Paul Dummett as well. Also leaving, Loris Karius and defender Kel Watts and midfielder Jeff Hendrick. So those are the big names, I guess. I was
going to have to shed a tear for Hendrick leaving him. Sorry, it's just...
Well, I saw him score, mate. I saw his last goal, which was under the Ashley era at Wolves. I was down there in the rain. It was awful. There was people fighting, Newcastle fans fighting each other behind us in the stands, and it was just it was
the lowest point of being a Newcastle fan, wasn't it? Just about.
Well, it was probably the lowest of the low under Ashley again. Yeah, I mean we had some lows. But yeah, I mean, Jeff Hendrick, you're going to say, very, very little, we can say about him. Kel Watts, didn't see enough of him. Loris Karius, of course, only called upon a handful of times. When he was called upon, one of the times he was called upon, of course, unfortunately for Nick Pope, was the Carabao Cup final.
He was all right. And I've been shouting for him to be playing over Dubravka, so no complaints from me with regards to him. Looked pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise to see that he's moved on. But yeah, I mean, look, Paul Dummett, Matt Ritchie, give us your opinions on each of those players.
Yeah, the Dummett one's funny because me and the lads who I got the match with, they all trying to wind me up. We have a Paul Dummett wind-up thing. I think he's all right. They adore him. I just think he's all right. I think he's done really well for the ability that he had. I mean, Pardew famously was going to get rid of him, wasn't he? Before, and then Pardew went. Pardew didn't rate him at all. But I think he did really well. He was always a solid player. He was a 6.5, 7 out of 10 most weeks, bar the Everton game, may I add. But he worked really well. I always thought he was a centre half. I didn't see him as a left back, although he played virtually all of his games as a left back, which I think was his wrong position. Or he could have played left side of as a back three, if you like, as well. Not a bad player. Good luck to him. I hope he does well. He deserves to get a contract somewhere else. I'm sure he's got a few more years left in him. In some respects, I think we're doing him a favour because if you were a footballer, why don't you want to play football?
Yeah.
Why don't you want to go and play football? Go and play 100 games for somebody else. Go and play football. Yes, you're earning less money. So what? You can't be skint. So go and play football for someone else and enjoy yourself. That's basically what you can say. Matt Ritchie as well. Ritchie, top man, magic hat. Always put 100% in. And in some respects, unlucky not to be played further forward sometimes because I always thought he had a great foot on him. He was always a good goal scorer. Also remember him for the fact that he had that disallowed penalty. Which
it was so
craziest decision I've ever seen. That referee, I think he retired after that game. Good player, good solid player, got us back up. Can never fault his attitude. I would love to see him on the coaching staff. I think there's a coach there without a shadow of a doubt within him. Maybe he needs to go away, play another final year of football, or do his badges and do all the rest of it, as well as driving trucks. And then maybe we might see him back one day. Who knows? Top player, great bloke.
Yeah, and he's got his HGV license as well, so of course he'll be able to drive some heavy goods vehicles for Newcastle if required.
Good luck to both of them. Good servants, and if they ever come back to play against us, they'll get a big stand ovation off the fan base, which tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, and of course, coming up as well, we'll cover this a little bit next week, but Castoria. The other big departure, officially departed the club this week. All signs have been taken down. All of the reduced gear, which they've been trying to get rid of, has disappeared. And Adidas are awaiting. And the slow build up, I guess, is now starting to build momentum. Some little sneak previews starting to be released on social media, etc. And of course, the home kit will debut. We will see the design for ourselves on the 7th of June.
Can I just say, as atrocious as Castori were in terms of getting goods out and, you know, in terms of you getting the right sizes and all the rest of it, and people complaining about getting different tops made by other people, you know. I never experienced that, but I know I've read other people did. But I thought the designs were great. I really, really have liked their designs. So well done to them for that. But they really need to expand and get the other aspect of their retail sorted, really. You know, that's what's let them down, isn't it? You know, let's be honest. And also, of course, Adidas has got that heritage aspect. Really looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting some retro strips. Looking forward to getting all the other extras that you can get. And I'm sure I'll spend quite a lot of money in the next couple of months on buying various gear. Really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to that. So, yeah.
And the temporary club shop is open now next to the Strawberry. So, you know, you'll be able to get in there and get your strip next year. Are you one of those people who queues up to get it, or do you just wait?
No, I just wait. I'm too old
simple
for that. I don't buy the new strips, if I'm being perfectly honest. I tend to go and buy either I bought the 3rd strip a couple of years ago. I really liked it. I'll tend to go buy retro stuff, training gear occasionally. And, you know, occasionally I'll buy a shirt if I really like it. You know, I'll drop a subtle hint to me kids on Father's Day, you know. But, you know, that's it.
Last weekend, saw Southampton join Leicester City and Ipswich Town in the Premier League for next season. They beat Leeds United 1-0 at Wembley. Leeds United, I mean, we thought that would happen. They've never won a playoff final, so there was no great surprise.
Yeah, like us at the cup final, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is for them. It's so sad for them. And you know, they've got to start again next season. But ex-Magpie, of course, Adam Armstrong scored the vital goal midway through the first half. And then they kept the clean sheet, kept the Yorkshireman out. Ryan Fraser did start the game. He was booked and then he was subbed in the 70th minute. There are reports that they're looking to make that a permanent deal, which is great news. And by the time this show goes out, maybe they have done. But
do you think we'll get any money for Fraser?
I don't think it's a concern in Newcastle. Just want him off the books.
I don't think we'll get anything for him.
I think there is money there. There is a deal that can be done. I mean, what is he? 30 years of age.
30 years of age. He's on a big whacking wage.
He's made 44 appearances this season for Southampton, scored 8 goals. So, you know, he's championship class. There's no doubt about it. I find it strange.
You say that, Steve, but people forget he won Premier League Player of the Month once for Newcastle. So he did win Player of the Month once. So. He had a really good month when he got Player of the Month. He scored a few goals really, really well.
I lost the reason I didn't laugh at your joke is because I lost your internet connection there. So now I did get it. I did get it at the end, but you were going in and out there. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it was quite clear from the off that him and Howe, there's an issue there in some way, shape, or form, and you know he never got back in the team. So I mean, you know, to offload him as well as Jeff Hendrick and the others that were named at the top of the show.
Anybody who doesn't see out their contract, it speaks volumes to me in terms of when we had the COVID situation and he could have played for Bournemouth but didn't. You know,
yeah,
that tells me a lot.
Couple of other things that have happened since we last spoke. The Australian trip began, finished, and ended. And look, I mean, the 1-1 draw against Spurs was a good game. It was competitive. It was played in front of a great crowd. Great to see the Australian fans get that opportunity to see their heroes, if you like. The second game,
I couldn't get the link. It wouldn't work. It was an absolute nightmare. So I had it. Didn't get the link. Didn't get to see it. Just a mare. I watched
the first half on my computer and then watched the second half on my phone as I was on my way out. But I did manage to see it, and it was good game, competitive game. But the second game, I didn't watch it. I saw the team that had been announced, and I thought, wow, they are clearly cruising for a huge defeat here, and that's what happened. I mean, it was men against boys. The second game, it was a complete overreaction. I felt on social media about it, because Newcastle went out there and did what they had to do. You know, they went out, they fulfilled their contract, and supporters did get an opportunity to see the real Newcastle United.
I don't know why they just didn't do the second day as like a training day and let all the fans come and watch them train and Howe put them through all the various bits and bobs. I think they've got a lot more out of it than watching the team getting absolutely thumped 8-0. It's never great news. I thought it was poor publicity for them in some respects, because if you're a fan over in Australia and you've travelled some distance and spent a bit of money to go and watch it, as much as you think, oh well, it's not going to be great, 8-0 is like, wow, that's a heavy tonking. I wouldn't have been happy as a dad having took my kids all the way there and then watch them getting thumped 8-0. I would have personally preferred to have seen them do it, just some sort of training exercise and watch the lads go through all the motions. But it is what it is. We have to sort of bring money into the club. It's the only way. It's one of the ways we can do it. And I thought Amanda spoke quite well about the whole situation when she made her club statement. So
yeah, it was interesting to see her come out and say that. I mean, I felt, to be perfectly honest, that the people coming out to speak about that should have been the likes of Silverstone, etc.
Yeah, it does. You do wonder why you're not. If your job is that job, why are you not coming out and heading it? Why not? Unless she specifically asked, she might have done. It just seems strange, when you've got a specific role, your specific role is to go and do something, then you go and do it, and you have to front up to the general public, even if you don't want to. You have to go and do it. That's what you have. That's part of your job. We've all done jobs like that where we've had to front up to something. So I'm surprised. Surprised you didn't. Or Darren Eales. Well,
yeah, just one of them coming out and saying something would have made more sense. But Amanda felt she had to come out to her social media. She does what she wants to do on there, I guess. But that's
I know she dropped the hint about a sponsor and then removed it.
Yeah, quite clever. That quite clever. They know what they're doing with their social media. Believe you me. Of course, the other news was that our hopes of another European campaign vanished on Saturday afternoon with that 2-1 win for Manchester United in the FA Cup final. And I don't know about you, but I mean, I did sit down and watch it, and I just had a feeling at the start of the cup final, as I saw Man United set their stall out and watch Manchester City, I just felt that was going to be the case. It just had all the feelings of a shock result, because let's face it, everyone expected Manchester City to win. But no trips to Europe. Disappointed, Sid?
Well, my thoughts. I've already expressed my views with regard to the third conference thing, and I've been called various names over it. You're too precious, this, that, and the other. You can't do it. I don't see the point of a third tier cup competition. I just don't see the point of it. Personally, I would have brought back the European Cup Winners' Cup. I think that's really exciting cup competition, and all the FA Cup winners or various cup winners around Europe all play together in the cup again. I think that's a really prestigious cup. I never understood why they got rid of it. I thought it was a fabulous cup competition, and it's not second tier or third tier. It's a proper cup competition. The Conference League, I appreciate the idea of playing twice a week. I appreciate the idea it's going to bring some revenue into the club. I appreciate the idea that Howe's got to sort of get used to it, really. And let's be honest, Newcastle should not be looking for anything less than Europe every season from now on in. Otherwise you've got a loser's mentality. However, I'm not a fan of the conference, and I've never pretended otherwise. I use the phrase the posh Intertoto, and I know it's an opportunity to win a trophy, which we've never ever done. But,
yeah.
Technically we won some sort of trophy with the Intertoto. It's just not.
I'm
not going to wet myself over it. If we won it, I'd be pleased. Would I be out singing and dancing? No. And I know it's controversial and people sort of lambast me for it, and that's absolutely fine. But for me, if it was the League Cup or the FA Cup, I'd be dancing for a week. Because you'd feel like you've won a proper trophy, something that's really sort of. So great. And I know the West Ham fans got really excited. I've got a good friend who's a West Ham fan, an ex-bandmate of mine, and he loved it. So that's great. And I'm happy for them. Happy for them and happy for anyone who wants to win it. But just not for me. It's just not for me.
And I think as well, in the future, what we shouldn't be doing is waiting until, the cup final, which is competed between two other teams, to see whether we can qualify for Europe, and ultimately, I think we've seen a lot said about Arsenal saying that they might have lost the title on Tyneside with that controversial goal that they never shut up about. But I guess our
they were more than 2 points behind, so it's just forcing them.
Our European bid basically faltered because of the fact that our away form just wasn't good enough.
I mean, I read the other day we lost 11 games in total for the season. That's not good enough.
Yeah.
You've got to win more than that. I appreciate we won more games, I think, than normally, but we lost 11. It's a lot. There seemed to be very few draws. It was win or lose. It was sort of very little in the middle. Whereas the season before, there was lots of draws, and we should probably have turned them into wins. This year, I'm very optimistic for next season, I have to say. But I'm going to put it out there. I think I would expect us to sort of get the top 4 next year. I really would, with the fact that we're not being pushed playing twice a week and all the rest of it. But that said, we lost it by inconsistencies. We lost the Everton game. That stands out. The Luton game, both home and away. There are certain games that just jump out. We go, wow, Forest at home. There's quite a lot of them, but you're not going to win every game. I mean, that just goes without saying. But there are some games that you should really win. Then we sort of throw them away. I mean, Man United still rankles with me, We should have absolutely tore them apart. And Brighton as well. You feel like you threw a couple of points away against Brighton. But it all adds up. I'm sure all the other teams can say the same and ifs and buts and, wherefores. Well, that's just the way football works.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. And as you say, the away form is what it has cost us. It means as well, of course, that next season, our place in the Carabao Cup will start in the second round. Because obviously when you get into Europe, you get excused that second round. So an extra round in the Carabao Cup. But we should be looking at those domestic trophies next season and saying we're going to give them a real go. And I think under Howe, we have given them a go. We've just been desperately unlucky with the cup draws that we've had.
I think we were a Trippier slip away from winning the League Cup. I really do think that. I mean, you could argue the same in the bloody Champions League as well. Obviously, we weren't going to win the Champions League, but we'd have proceeded. Mm-hmm. I really do think that. I think we're 4 players short, 4 first-team starters short in terms of building the squad from really challenging right up at the top end. I really do think that. Certainly for the Cups. Next year, we've got to aim to win one of the Cups and certainly be top 4. And I don't think we should be accepting anything less. Injuries and all the rest of it. There's no excuses. I think we should really just go for it. You've got to accept it. There's no excuses. So, yeah, I am optimistic. It's going to be an interesting season, mid-season, pre-season, and also interesting in terms of what we get on Tyneside, who he brings in. That's where it's all going to boil down to, who he brings in. I'm looking forward to it. And who goes, because there are going to be some big uns go as well.
Yeah, there will be. Yeah, there's going to be a bit of wheeling and dealing as far as Newcastle's concerned. Before we bring Rob in and we go to the break, obviously you're talking about incomings. Craig Hope is my go-to. I think he's yours as well.
Yeah.
Talks of Newcastle being linked with Burnley keeper James Trafford as competition for Nick Pope. There are sources close to the club saying that Pope remains number 1 in the club's thoughts ahead of next season. Also, Toon is another one which is been heavily linked. Chelsea, of course, and Manchester United both supposed to be linked with him as well, but he quite clearly fancies a trip to Newcastle. So I can imagine if he wants to come to Newcastle, the only reason he won't will be money. Chelsea, I can imagine, will be opening the checkbook for him. And of course, Lloyd Kelly, we're expecting that. Potentially by the time this show goes out, maybe to have been announced, might get announced over the weekend. It seems as that was more or less a done deal, but it certainly looks as if Newcastle are doing some early business, which is great.
Yeah, Lloyd Kelly sounds like it's in the bag. Tosin was supposed to be in the bag, but we don't know now. I mean, family-wise, he wouldn't have to move if he goes to Chelsea, as Chelsea is in part of Fulham, their ground, so he could just stay where he is. However, Chelsea have about 8 centre-halves, I know they're looking to get rid of Chalobah. I think that's the pronunciation. But you'd seriously question, one, they haven't got a manager yet. And apparently, allegedly, it was coming to play for Eddie Howe was the reason he wanted to come to Newcastle, if that's true or not, Manchester United, again, they're in the same boat. Do we know who the manager's going to be? Obviously, both teams are big draws. Let's not pretend otherwise. I don't see the idea of Conference League football being a massive draw to go to Chelsea. Let me put that out there as well. But I think the idea of not moving house is a big one. And if somebody's going to give you loads more money to not move house, it's if you thought you were going to get regular football, he's of an age where he's got to play regularly. He's 25, 26, you've got to play every week, is the way I would look at it, or virtually every week. And if you're not, then what's the point in being a footballer? It's not like he's 21, 22 when he's going to be in and out of the team. He's got to be playing every week. And he needs to be pushing his international credentials as well, because he's capable of becoming an international footballer. So that's the way I would look at it. As for the goalkeeper, Trafford didn't look very good to me, but, he's only a young kid. I would rather go with Mamadashvili, who I've mentioned before. And I like the fact that we can do the Boney M song, Mamadashvili. I think that just works great. He would be my first choice, but again, he's not a great kicker of the ball either. He's very much a Pope type goalkeeper, but slightly better feet. He's going to be big money, and the rest of the year. I mean, apparently it's interesting. I was looking online, and the Fulham fans weren't overly concerned about the lad leaving. However, the Bournemouth fans were given a massive praise with regards to Lloyd Kelly. Said that he's an international type, English national type footballer, and he's just been blighted by injury. Mm-hmm. And that was interesting because they almost described, as a Toon, they almost described him at Fulham as being like a Titus Bramble, where he can play really, really well, and then he's got a big rick in him at some point in the game. Because Bramble was a great passer of the ball, which people forget. He was fantastic. He could knock a ball 60 yards to your toes, but he always had a rick in him, always. And that was the impression. That was the sort of player that they were sort of comparing him with. Whereas, as I say, Lloyd Kelly, the Bournemouth fans were really gutted to see him go, and they all wished him well and very, very polite. Nobody said anything negative with regards to him.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's going to be an interesting summer. Barry is updating his list as we go. I mean, we're hurtling towards 100 players linked with Newcastle already, and the transfer window is not even open yet. Also noticed a bit of publicity over the weekend where, it's saying that the FFP is going to strangle Newcastle. The Chronicle tend to put a lot of this in. Basic headlines. You click on them, you read the story, and you're like, well, it doesn't actually say that. Playing down the whole FFP thing and saying, we're not going to have a great budget. We've been down that road before. Newcastle we've
got plenty of money. We've got 2 lots of Salah money that's not been actually put into the accounts. We've got the Champions League money not being put into the accounts yet. We've got the obviously the Adidas money to come in. We've got other sponsorship money coming in. I don't think they're short of a few bob. And then we'll have big player sales as well. There'll be a couple of big players go, or reasonable players, should I say, go. Yeah. So there's plenty of dosh coming in, and I have no qualms about it. What does annoy me is the proposal to change the rules for teams in Europe to be given an extra FFP amount of money, an extra £30 million on top of per year, because they're in Europe. That is wrong. All of a sudden, Newcastle's not in Europe, and that comes in. And I'm not saying it was because of Newcastle, but it just seems wrong. It should be going right across the board to all clubs, not just because those clubs in Europe. Or otherwise, you're creating that even bigger disproportionate amount of between the haves and the have-nots. If you're sort of Wolverhampton Wanderers and you're not given that extra 30 million, yet see Aston Villa, who are just 15 miles down the road or up the road, that's not right. That seems wrong. So it should be across the board or not at all.
Yeah.
So.
No, I would agree with you, mate. 100%. Busy summer ahead. We'll see what happens over the course of the next couple of months. You'll be able to find out. Each day, though, we'll be covering the transfers stories on NUFC Matters, and look forward to doing that. Okay, we are halfway through the show. It's time for the ads. A big thanks to all our sponsors: Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk, telephone 01768 210 102, or email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks to United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Thanks to Media Arts for the technical side of things. And you can also find us as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. You can subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button underneath this video. Hit the all notifications bell so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumb up to like the channel and click share to share to your social media. If you want to join the channel, then click join for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become a member for a one-off £25 payment, email john@nufcmatters.com or go to membership at the website nufcmatters.com. If you've got a smartphone, hold your camera over the QR code and it'll take you straight there. We also help the food bank on this channel. Go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk to the matchday bucket and you can leave a virtual donation today. And it's a big welcome to Rob from Give Up the Ghost. And Rob, I just want to say congratulations on what looked like a brilliant gig, mate.
Yeah, it was absolutely packed. One point I took one of my fans facing the crowd. It was mobbed. It was really, really good. Really good. The two other places trying to get us to play there already. So we're hitting the ground running. Really great night.
Great stuff, mate. Well done. As always, we hand the controls over to you for an album review. What are you bringing us today?
Today, going to squeeze Argy Bargy, and my bit of memorability for the day is the reverse of it because I've got a signed copy of it. Good album. Obviously, it's my favourite band of all time. I jumped between Argy Bargy and East Side Story. But from Catford, Deptford, Blackheath, South East London. It's a third studio album. This was in 1980, produced by John Wood. Singles were Another Nail in My Heart, If I Didn't Love You, the US version, which I have here, which was available on 5-inch record vinyl, which is very unusual. So that was the US release of that single. And Pulling Muscles for Michelle, not Pulling Muscles for Michelle. And Far Fils a Bait, that again, US. So it opens with Pulling Muscles, absolutely brilliant song. Song basically based on British fun fairs and, British sort of holidays, and for Bingo and Nine's a Panda for Sweet Little Niece and for running at the sea, caravans. That's side of it. Brilliant, really good, snappy, sharp guitaring on this. It's a squeeze classic. If everybody knows this one, sort of pub rock, as it used to be labelled as well. Then you've got Another Nail in My Heart. It's my favourite song of all time since I was, would have been 10 or 11. It still is my favourite song of all time. To me, it's a perfect pop song, top drawer, guitar solo after the first minute of it. It's just perfection for this one. It's a clever song. It's a kitchen sink dry again. The opening line, the case was pulled from under her bed. She made a call to a sympathetic friend and made arrangements. Away in her mother's again, relationship breakups and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's a really, really good. It's like I say, it's a relationship breakup song, but I just love it. I love the warmth of it. I love the keyboards on it. Every little thing about it. You got Separate Beds, really good drummer in this, Gilson Lavis, who still drums with Jules' band. It's a classic Difford Tilbrook vocals on it, the baritone with Chris Difford. Sort of heavy guitaring on this, bit synth pop on this one. Good bass runs from John Bentley. Again, this is about a guy's parents not approving of any of his girlfriends. I mean, a lyric to it is, her mother didn't like me. She thought I was on drugs. My mother didn't like her. She wouldn't help peel the spuds. It's just all tongue in cheek. It's really good. I really like it. It's a good song. And you've got track 4, Misadventure. This is an upbeat, sort of rock-driven, sort of failed drugs run adventure, snappy, sharp. It's quite a good song, and I do know what ex-band member this was written about. I do know that. Good song. It's okay. It's all right. The lyrics are good again, but it's okay. It's a little bit of a filler. Then you've got track 5, my second favourite Squeeze song of all time. I think I'm Go-Go. This was about when the band were touring in Amsterdam, I think, for the first time, possibly. Again, the lyrics, on your bike and Anne Frank books. It's disco, it's clockwork time, it's disco time, and, about neon lights, and I think I'm Go-Go, just about, shaking hands and people can't understand what he's saying. And I think this was a time when Glenn Tilbrook felt a bit uneasy about being recognised in public. He became a bit paranoid at this point in his career, but really, really great song. Again, there's an orchestra part in this. It's absolutely beautiful. Again, Chris Difford sings the third verse on it. It's just a brilliant song. The way it's put together, the arrangements, it's outstanding song. Great. I really, really love it. Then you've got Farfisa a Beat. Don't like this song. It's fast-paced. It's quite a psychedelic, experimental one. A good solid drumming on by Guildford. It's a filler, not up to standard for me. I think it's a bit of a throwaway song. I mean, I knew there was difficulties at this time recording. I don't know. It's just there's about 2 or 3 songs on it that I feel like we could have better, like B-sides, like What the Butler Saw would have been a cracking song on this album as well. So we'll bypass that one. Then you've got Here Comes That Feeling. This is Chris Difford takes the lead vocal on this one. It's a very dark song about a failed actor. It's okay. It's unusual. It's just vocals on it. I mean, I know Chris Difford was getting egged on by Glenn Tilbrook to get up and sing. These are songs you wrote. Just start getting yourself up to the microphone. It's all right. It's just a bit unusual. You've got Vicky Verkey. To me, this is back on form. That shappy snap. To me, it's got a bit like XTC again, another band that are very similar. And I can hear a lot of these other influences. One being Franz Ferdinand, Kaiser Chiefs, and Arctic Monkeys, and that. They've got this sort of snappy sound as well. It's a narrative song based on a girl's partner who's pregnant while he goes away to jail. Great lyrics. Again, it's really, really nifty. Nice sort of harpsichord solo midway through it. There's bits, this guy was a bit of a rogue. Sometimes he would treat her when he'd done his mother's meter, breaking into the electricity meters and stuff like that. It's kitchen sink drama. I love the little stories to all these songs. It's sort of stuff where a lot of us got up to when we were younger. Then you've got If I Didn't Love You. It's a strange song. It's really annoying. There is a line on it. It's about having a scratched record, and the chorus is this: if I 9 times didn't love you. And it's 9 times. And I remember taping it for my friend Paul, and he said, "Is that something wrong with the record?" I went, "No, it's just sound like that because the lyric is it's a scratch on the record." It's okay. It's annoying. I mean, I like the bass and the drums in it, but I really, really like John Bentley as a bass player. Then you've got Wrong Side of the Moon. Jules Holland takes vocals on this one. Nice key changes. It's typically, Hoyle Holland's trademark boogie woogie. Simple as that. Jules did not play an awful lot on Squeeze, especially in the studio. I know Glenn Tilbrook does all the demos on piano and does most of the parts in the studio still. Stephen Large, the guy he's got now, was in Glenn Tilbrook's other band, Fluffers, absolutely outstanding. He's got that sharpness back that Jules did have, say, when they're playing on the whistle test, that sort of style again. Really good. It's a good song. I mean, Jules has been relentless in his ambition. He's doing what he set out to do. So, hats off to him. Then you've got there at the top, this, again, reminds me of like a 70s detective program, sort of Streets of San Francisco or something. It's just got that sound about it, late 70s, but I think this album is 81. Great backing vocals on this. It's a song about an office clerk, which was Chris Difford's first ever job. But I really like this song. It's just the bass and the guitar. It's just texture and the underline. It's just so sharp. And the production of this album is absolutely amazing. But I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I love it. It was either this one or East Side Story, but yeah, that's my review of this one. Brilliant album. About 3 songs that I think could have been replaced with better B-sides that they did have at the time. So yeah, that's me.
Great stuff, mate. Great stuff as always. You also sent us this. This was the anniversary tour, wasn't it? Yeah, the 50th anniversary.
That's this year. Yeah, we've got tickets. Going to see them in Aberdeen. I think they're playing the City Hall. They played City Hall a lot in Newcastle. I've seen them there in 1998, but if it's not there, it's the Sage. The usual. I'm sure it's the City Hall. They're playing there.
Yeah, it is. Me and Karen are going to the City Hall gig. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Brilliant stuff. All right, great stuff. Thanks for that, Rob. Okay, as always, Sid, you bring us something as well. What are you bringing us today on the music front?
I've got Talking Heads, Speaking in Tongues. I absolutely love Talking Heads. This is a great album. I've just done a show on it, by the way, and I'm not telling you what's number 1, but this could easily have been, or could be. It's a magnificent album. It's a 5-star album all day long. It's really, it's quite poppy to a point, but it's really funky, really funky. You've got this sort of electronic funk feel on it that bands like Imagination were doing at the time. It's really got that sort of really lovely groove on it. Chris Franz is a great drummer, by the way, really solid. But Tina Weymouth's a fantastic bass player. They just lock together. I mean, obviously they're a married couple as well, which might help. But fantastic. Some really great catchy tunes on it. Burning Down the House kicks off, which Chris Franz apparently went to see a P-Funk gig and kept shouting. They heard the chant "Burn Down the House" and he thought, right, that's a great title for a song. So he wrote the song. Making Flippy Floppies About Sex and Politics, which I think is a great title. But it's got this great sort of funky guitar thing going on as well in the background. Girlfriend's Better, great song and catchy. So really just top songs on it, like Slippery People, which has like sort of religious connotations, but it's really, really funky. I mean, funk is the 4-letter word that you want to use for this album because it really is funky. It's got a really great groove. There's some just daft songs on it. Moon Rocks is about eating edible cannabis. Pull Up the Roots is really cool. This Must Be the Place finishes the album, which is just a really light song actually on the end of the album. It's really great groove album, and then you've got this lovely little light touch at the end. It's a top-notch album by one of the great sort of unusual type of bands. I can't even categorize what sort of band they are. They're an art rock band. You could argue that they're in the sort of styles of XTC for a little bit, but they've got more of a funk feel to them as well. They're just a truly great band. I think possibly the best band to come out of America. Just marvelous, absolutely marvelous. Certainly up there with Blondie. So yeah, that's my album, Speaking in Tongues from 1983. 5 stars, belter of an album from a great band.
Good stuff. And just to give you a podcast.
There we go, yep.
And Talking Heads album ranked.
Yes, and interestingly, I put it on Facebook recently, and David Byrne liked it, so that was quite funny. So that was a bit bizarre. So I don't know if he's watched it or not, but he did stick a like on, so that was from his private account, so that was unusual. And book-wise, which is quite a controversial book, actually. Chris Franz wrote this about 2 years ago. The audio book is really boring. He reads so dull. It's unreal. It's a great book, but it's so dull to listen to him. And at the time, they weren't talking as a band. So he really does go for David Byrne in the book. It's really quite funny. And now all of a sudden they're talking for the first time in 20 years. They're going to loads of things together, watching the new version of the live concert. And there's big rumor that they're going to tour again at Christmas. So that would be fantastic. And I wrote tour again, and he wrote a big like on it, put a big like on it. So interesting. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. So yeah, great. One of the great bands. If you've not heard of them, I actually say Speaking in Tongues is one of the ones to go and check out first, because some of the other albums might be a bit too much for you. It's a great opening album to try and check out. Fantastic, dead funky.
Great stuff. As always, if you've got an album you want Rob to review, drop it in the chat underneath, and drop it in the comments underneath, and Rob will pick up on it. He always checks the comments, and look forward to having you on again next week, Rob.
Okay, gents. I shall
Take care. Lovely to see you, Rob.
And you guys. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, last 10 minutes of the show, we are going to get through the list that we've been going through all week.
Yes.
Which is the season review for Sid. So without further ado, I will ask you first of all for your player of the season.
Well, I was really torn on this one. I knew who it was going to be, but there's some players really deserve mentions. I thought Fabian Schär deserves a mention. I thought he's fantastic all season. And up to halfway through the season, he was my player of the season at that point. Bruno's been fantastic, really all season, really, really consistent, just, genuinely top draw player. I've used the word world class. Maybe he could get into a top 22. He's certainly that good. Isak, if he'd been fit all season, would have been my player of the season. But it's Anthony Gordon. He's just been an absolute revelation, is the way I would describe him. I didn't know he was going to be that good. When we first got him, I thought, he was one of them. You'd play against him at Everton, you'd hate him. He got so much grief. You think, what we bought him for? And he didn't look great the first 6 months either. He tried really hard. You could argue he was trying too hard, actually. And then I think the under 21 World Cup's done him the world of good, and obviously working with Eddie Howe as well, of course. And he looks genuinely top draw. I predict he will start the Euros. I think he'll start on the left-hand side. He'll be the big shock because I think everybody's assuming Saka's definitely going to start, obviously. I'm hoping he puts Foden where he should be, just behind Harry Kane, and I would start Gordon on the left. And then you've got, and I know Palmer's the big one that everyone could harp on about as well, but he doesn't play on the left. So he would be on the bench for me. And at the moment, Gordon gets in ahead of Grealish absolutely all day long. All day long. He's been just fantastic. Goals, assists, penalties in terms of drawing people into the foul. Oh, what a player. And also noticeably, his first touch is improving, because that was always my gripe earlier on in the season. His first touch wasn't great, and it's improving. He's working on it, because always you just knock it a little bit ahead and use his pace to sort of balance things off. So he's clearly working in his all-round game. So well done to him. Well done to him, because I didn't think he was capable of being the level that he is. And what's even better, he's not reached his potential.
Yeah.
And watching that documentary as well, or the little show he did with Gary Neville, he's a determined young man, and it's up to us to prove to him to stay at Newcastle United, because I think the sky's the limit for the kid. I think he could break into my all-time 11 if he stays here for another 5 or 6 years. He's that good a player.
Okay, young player of the season.
Well, it depends what you describe as young. I don't buy all this 23 business. That doesn't work for me. So I describe a young player as 21 and under. I've got my little notes here. It's Tino Livramento, basically. I just think he's been fantastic. Obviously, big special mention for Lewis Miley, who was superb. I keep harping on, I'd like to see do some speed work with him. Definitely. But what a player. What a first touch he's got, though. He's got a great set of feet on him. Hall looks like he's going to be a player. Is he going to be a left back? Not sure. And Anderson, I think Anderson could have tipped it if he'd played a load of games, but he didn't. And he's going to be the interesting player for me for next year in terms of what they do with him, because he's a number 10. We don't play that system. He's strong and assured on the ball as well, and he reads the game really well. To me also, they could potentially drop him in as the number 6. Yeah. Play him as the holding player, because he's quick, he's a good passer of the ball, he reads the game really well. I appreciate it detracts from his attacking aspects, but we've got players who can do that as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he suddenly converts to become a number 6 as the year goes on. But going back to Livramento, what a player. Different to Trippier. He's not a crosser of the ball. He's beats a man or two. He scored a great goal as well, didn't he, when he beat a number of players and just slotted it home. What a goal that was. He's really fast. He reads the game well, and he's a nice crosser in terms of low passes. I would like to see him develop his crossing a little bit more. That's the one area of the game that needs to improve a little bit. But he would be my starting right back next season as well. And I don't think we will, if we keep Trippier.
Goal of the season.
Tough one, this one. Again, shout out to Isak and Gordon for their goals against Man City, because they were both fantastic, but ultimately we lost the game. So for me, it was Barnes against West Ham because of what it meant. Not because it was brilliant, but because of what it was. A good goal, actually, but what it meant in terms of coming back from 3-1 to win 4-3. I just thought that was superb. Obviously, we've seen some great goals with Shaw and Murphy as well. We've seen some super goals this season, but that was the one that, I was bouncing at that point. That was great. That was great. So, yeah, Barnes.
Match of the season, Sid.
West Ham.
Yeah.
West Ham. Yeah, I appreciate that. The PSG game was fantastic. Great atmosphere, great game, really exciting. Wasn't quite as good as the Barcelona game in terms of the atmosphere, but it was very, very good. I have to say it was really excellent. But I thought the ground was at its best for the West Ham game and the Luton game, actually, to be fair. But the West Ham game, the 4-3, I love games like that. Their place was bouncing. It was rocking. So the West Ham game was, for me, the most exciting game of the season. That was the game I enjoyed the most.
Okay, last two. Best signing of the season. We haven't got many.
We haven't. So it's Livramento again. Yeah. It has to be. I mean, Hall could be a superstar in the future. We don't really know yet. There wasn't many other choices. I mean, one of them's banned virtually all of season, and the other one's been out injured with Barnes. Yeah. I mean, Barnes has got it's a big season for Barnes next year. Big season. But yeah, I mean, Tino, he looks like a proper top draw player who will play a number of games for England. So yeah, him definitely.
And the final one is marks out of 10 for the season.
This was hard. If we'd finished 7th without any injuries, I would have said 6. And I would have been disappointed because I predicted that would be top 4 without injuries. And I'm actually quite adamant that would have been the case. I mean, there's not that much of a gap. Was it 8 points between us and Villa at the end of the season? We'd have comfortably been in the top 4. But I'm probably going to go down the 7 route because the injuries were substantial. We topped the charts. For days missed through injuries and suspension. So that alone, I probably equate a point. But if the Boots on the same foot next season, I won't accept it because that'll tell me that they've not done something about the injury situation. They've not looked into it enough. And you can't just keep relying on, if it wasn't for injuries, if it wasn't this, that, and the other. No excuses. No excuses now. But I'll give it 7. I thought Howe did remarkably well because at one point, I would have snapped your arms off for 7th when I thought we were sort of plummeting down the table in that sort of January period, I think it was, when we sort of couldn't buy a win.
Yeah.
So, par. If I was playing golf, it would be a par. It's a par.
Sid, as always, great stuff, mate. We will be back next week. Well, who knows what we'll be talking about. But as always, a pleasure to spend a bit of time with you and Rob on NUFC Matters Talk of the Toon. Take care, mate.
Take care, folks. Look after yourself. Bye-bye.